The man jolts awake from a dream. He sits up fast, grabs his shotgun, and moves to the window. Using a mirror, he scans the courtyard outside with practiced ease and spots a white-haired old woman staring right at him. Nick rushes out the door, carefully sweeping his surroundings. Once he's sure there's no ambush, he slowly backs inside, keeping the barrel trained on the old woman the whole time. The old woman speaks first, asking for some food, but Nick just stares her down, not moving a muscle. Seeing this, she drops the metal tool in her hand and has her daughter pull a pouch of precious jewels from her pack, hoping to trade them for something to eat. Nick barely glances at the jewels before turning her down flat. With the end of the world upon them, so-called precious gems aren't even worth a single potato. The old woman realizes Nick isn't easily fooled, so she pulls out another bag. Worried he won't catch her meaning, she bends down, scoops up a handful of dirt, and spreads it across her palm, hinting that what's in the bag can be used to grow food. The mention of food hits a nerve. Nick cautiously steps forward and picks the bag up, but the moment he realizes it's just a planting guide, he tosses it right back. The old woman sighs. Then she pushes her daughter out from behind her. The sight of the young woman's fresh face gives Nick pause. He's been living alone for 50 years. After half an hour of going back and forth with himself, he finally agrees to let the mother and daughter inside. He orders them to stand with their backs to him, then searches them thoroughly. Once he's sure neither of them is carrying a weapon, he slices off a piece of potato and throws together a simple meal for them. After they finish eating, Nick immediately locks the old woman in the next room, keeping only Katie in the same room as himself. The next morning, the old woman offers to marry her daughter off to Nick, hoping they can stay on the estate and help cultivate more farmland. Nick shuts her down without hesitation. He knows he's on his own out here, and expanding his territory would only attract trouble. He raises his shotgun and orders them to leave. Before she goes, the old woman grabs the last potato sitting on the table. Nick gives a silent nod, but just as they're about to walk out the door, Katie suddenly stops. She turns around, walks back inside, picks up a basin, and lathers foam all over Nick's face. Then she turns, grabs a razor, and walks toward him. Nick instinctively raises his gun at her. He's enjoying the experience, but he still won't let his guard down. In the end, though, the mother and daughter stay. With the two of them helping out, work around the estate becomes much more efficient. But the old woman starts getting ideas of her own. While Nick and Katie are talking, she tears the entire house apart and can't find a single bullet. She tells Katie what she's discovered, but Katie says Nick always keeps 2 rounds stuffed in his pants pocket, and she can swipe them while he sleeps. Because the truth is, both of them know full well, this little farm can't feed 3 people. They have to get rid of Nick to save themselves. That very night, Katie takes the bullets. At dawn the next day, the old woman creeps up behind Nick. She slowly raises her shovel, ready to knock him out cold. But right at that moment, Nick notices a set of unfamiliar footprints on the ground. At the same time, down by the river, someone grabs Katie from behind and covers her mouth. By the time Nick reaches the riverbank, all he finds is a shoe that was dropped in the struggle. He follows the tracks into the tall grass, and staring at the reeds towering over his head, he crouches down to load his shotgun. That's when he realizes the bullets are gone. It hits him instantly. He's walked right into the mother and daughter's trap. But after a brief hesitation, he stands up anyway, exposing himself to draw the enemy out. Not far off, a man lies flat on the ground like a starving predator. The second he spots Nick, he opens fire. Nick drops. Seeing no movement, the man shoves Katie out in front of him as a shield and inches closer. Once he confirms Nick's been hit, the man moves in with a vicious grin, ready to finish the job. But to save ammo, he pulls a knife instead. And right at that critical moment, Nick's eyes snap open. He yanks a blade strapped to his leg and drives it into the man's body. Then, fighting through the searing pain, he picks up the man's pistol. With Katie's help, Nick makes it back to the cabin. He digs the bullet out of his wound with a knife and cauterizes it with a red-hot iron. But after being betrayed, he no longer trusts the mother and daughter. He raises the pistol and locks them in the bedroom. What he doesn't know is that his nightmare is only just beginning. Late that night, Nick's wound takes a turn for the worse. A raging fever sets in, and soon he's too weak to get out of bed. Seeing this, the mother and daughter realize the moment has come. The old woman urges Katie to steal his weapons. That way, they'll never have to live under his thumb again. All they have to do is wait for him to die, and the estate will be theirs. But Katie sees it differently. She argues that a strong man can share the burden of their harsh life. More than that, Nick just saved her life. Standing by and doing nothing now just wouldn't be right. Her words eventually changed the old woman's mind. The two of them go back into the room and rub Nick's body with their hands all through the night, trying to bring his temperature up. By morning, Nick pulls through. From that point on, he drops his guard completely, and the 3 of them live and work together as one. But the tiny estate simply can't support 3 people. They have no choice but to go out hunting to get by. Before long, they discover a bird's nest. The old woman nimbly climbs to the top of the tree and brings back a few eggs. The good times don't last. One night, while Nick is out gathering firewood, beams of light suddenly cut through the darkness in the distance. He races back to the cabin, wakes the mother and daughter, bolts the door, and takes position with his shotgun. Soon, raiders surround the cabin, poking around for any weak spot they can break through. From the sounds outside, Nick estimates there are about 6 of them. He's only got 3 rounds left. Even if every shot counts, there's almost no chance of making it out alive. Luckily, the raiders don't try to force their way in. After messing around for a while, they move on. But the next morning, Nick discovers the real damage. The estate has been completely ransacked. Without food, they're done for. To make things worse, Katie is now pregnant. To survive, they start clearing new land and set traps in the forest, praying they'll catch something to eat. 3 days go by. The traps come up empty every time. Despair hangs over them like a cloud. The old woman holds her daughter close, her face heavy with worry. She says there's only enough food left for 2. They have to kill Nick if they want any chance of making it. Katie knows her mother is right and reluctantly agrees. She goes into the forest, picks some wild poisonous mushrooms, and stirs them into the evening soup. Nick, meanwhile, is so consumed with worry about survival that he doesn't notice a thing. He drinks the soup without a second thought. The next morning, the old woman packs up and urges Katie to get moving. But Katie just lies in bed and shakes her head. The old woman tries to pull her up, but Katie won't budge. Then, Nick, who should be dead, suddenly turns his head. The old woman's face goes white. She staggers back 2 steps as it hits her. She rushes to the water basin and tries to make herself throw up, but it's too late. Katie had put the poisonous mushrooms in her mother's bowl. Maybe she truly fell for Nick. Maybe she couldn't bear the thought of her unborn child coming into the world without a father. In the end, she chose Nick's side. Surprisingly, the old woman doesn't blame Katie. Not a word of resentment. She asks Nick to take her deep into the woods and give her a quick end. And Nick grants her wish. With the old woman gone, Katie and Nick could have finally lived in peace. But fate has other plans. The same group of raiders is back, and this time every single one of them is armed. The clatter of tin cans tips the 2 of them off just in time. Nick drops to the ground behind the bushes and spots the raiders up ahead. They're hopelessly outnumbered. So Katie runs back to the cabin first and grabs the seeds. By the time the raiders break in, the place is empty. But when they see the axe hanging on the wall and the cooking pot still warm, they know the occupants haven't gone far. They call to each other and fan out in pursuit. Nick hears them coming, spins around, and drops one with a single shot. The raiders scatter behind the trees, waiting for their chance to strike. Realizing he can't hold them off, Nick tells Katie to run. He plays his harmonica to draw them toward himself. But Katie doesn't get far before someone cuts her off at a bend. She pulls the trigger without hesitation and wastes her only round. She draws her machete and backs away slowly, luring the raider right into a bear trap. On the other side, Nick is surrounded. Both his shots find their mark, but he's hit from behind. An arrow punches through his abdomen. The raiders build a fire on the spot and strip him bare, but Katie manages to slip away. She doesn't dare stop for even a second. When she's hungry, she picks wild berries. When she's thirsty, she drinks from the lake. After days of grueling travel, Katie finally emerges from the forest and reaches a road. And there, she discovers a refuge, a place with proper defenses and people inside actually farming the land. The sight fills her with hope. Without a moment's hesitation, she hands over her machete and her seeds, earning a place for herself and her child.